Hello everyone, welcome back to this tutorial. My name is Shadrach, and in this video I'm going to show you how to create this wave loader effect with CSS. There's a final effect we are going to see. I'm going to go through the code with you from scratch, and then we see how we get an effect like this. So the first file I'm going to create is index.html. That's my HTML file. I'm also going to create style.css. So I'm going to be writing my HTML here and link my style sheets in here. I'll just generate the HTML boilerplate and call it wave effect. I'm also going to add a link to link my CSS. Is going to reference the style.css file. Inside this file, I'm going to have just one div. We won't have any content for the div, but I'm going to give it a class name. I'm going to call it loader, or better still, wave loader. This is all we are going to have inside the HTML. That's basically it for the HTML file. So I'm going to use live server to run it. I can right click and do open with live server, or I can just use the shortcut here, go live, and then it's going to open it here. Right. So at the moment we are not seeing anything because it's an empty div. So I'm going to go into the style.css file, and the first thing I'm going to do is to style the body just to get the content in the middle, right? So I'm going to use Flexbox. I'm going to reference the body element. I'm going to set a height for it, say 100 viewport height, display flex, justify content center, align items center. If I now reference the wave loader and then maybe say height 300 pixels, width 300 pixels, you're still not going to see anything yet because it's still transparent. If I add a background color, let's just say gray, you now see it here. Now my element is showing up in the middle because I'm using this Flexbox properties. Justify content and align items. If you don't know about Flexboxes, I just released a tutorial series on Flexboxes, so you can check it out. I would also provide a link to those tutorials in the description. So what I want to do is to actually make this element a circle. I can just set a border radius 50%. So when I do 50%, it is going to make it a perfect circle, and that's basically what we want from the start. I am going to set up some rotation animations that I am going to use. It is much simpler to do that first so that you understand what I am going to do. To specify an animation or to set an animation for an element, you use the keyframes keyword. So I'm going to do at keyframes, and then I'm going to call the animation wave. So basically an animation is going to start from 0% to 100%, right? So for example, if you are starting from here to here, here is going to be 0%, and then the end here is going to be 100%. At 0%, I want to set a transform. I want to set a transform, and that transform is called rotate. I'm going to say 0 degrees. So at 0%, it's going to start rotating from 0 degrees, and at 100%, it is going to go all the way to 360 degrees, right, to make a complete rotation. Right. So I'm going to say rotate 360 degrees. So this is how my rotate animation is going to be like. That is basically what is going to make these wave effects here. So it's going to start from 0 degrees, go all the way to 360 degrees, so it's going to make a perfect rotation. I am going to give this some border, just this border you see around here. So I'm going to say border, it's going to be 1 pixel solid, and then the color I used for the border is 00A2FF, and then the opacity is 5555. So if I go, you now see the border around it. I'm going to remove the background for now so that you see the border properly. I'm going to set the position of this as relative. That's because I'm going to position some children elements relative to this element. So I'm going to say position relative. What I want to do now is that I'm going to be using CSS pseudo elements to create the effect we are seeing here. So basically there are two other elements which is coming from the CSS pseudo element I am using, the before and after, which is basically making these two effects. So you could see that there's one element here, there's another element here. You'd see it clearly when I specify it here. All right. So I'm going to say that dot wave loader, which is basically the name of the element, but the pseudo element I want to select first is before. It's double colon. So before is, I mean, just from the name, it is going to create an element before the actual element, and there is a after, which is going to create another element after the elements here. It's a nice way to reduce the amount of HTML you write here, a good way to clean up your code a little bit. So I'm going to say wave loader before, and the first thing you specify for a pseudo element is the content. I'm going to make it empty as usual. I'm going to say the position as absolute. If I say position absolute here, because this is position relative, it is going to position this relative to this wave loader element. I'm also going to specify some width and height, but I'm going to say the width is 100%, same as the height, 100%, which is basically going to fill up the width and height of the parent element, which is this 300 pixel set here. Right. So if I save it, you're not going to see it yet, but I can give it a background so that it becomes clear for you to see. I would say gray again. Yeah, and now you can see it. It is covering the parent element because I've made this a circle. This is a square, so it is basically going to cover it. If I turn the opacity down, all the way down here, you are going to see it behind it a little bit, right? Yeah, it is actually filling up the width and height of the parent container. I'm going to set a border radius for this, so I'm going to say border radius. I'm not going to make it a perfect circle, I'm just going to give it a 45% border radius, so it's not actually a perfect circle. So you could see the overlapping sides here. I'm going to push it to the top a little bit, so I'm going to say top negative 40%, like this, and it's going to be pushed to the top a little bit, so now you can see it clearly. I'm going to apply this animation to it so that you see the effects now. So we created this wave animation effect with the keyframes, and the way you apply to it is by specifying the animation property. So I'm going to say animation, then the animation name is going to be wave, and I have to specify the time, which is going to be 4 seconds. So you see it's now spinning, but then it spins once and then it stops. So I'm going to make it infinite so that it will continuously spin. and I'm going to say linear. I'm going to say linear so that it becomes smooth. So this is what is going to do the magic for us. This is what is going to create the effect for us. We are actually getting closer to this. I would also apply the same styles to the after. So I'm just going to say after, but I'm going to override some of the styles for the after down here. So instead of having a border radius of 45, I'm going to override that and say no, border radius, and say border radius is 25%. Let's make it 30. Okay, yeah, that looks fine, that looks good. And then I'm going to change the background color for this one a little bit. The background color I'm going to use is going to be RGBA, like this. It's going to be white with some opacity, so white should be 255 for red, 255 for green, 255 for blue, and then the alpha is going to be 0.3, not comma. So that looks awesome. We are going to hide the top aspect here so that we can only see the side, right? So we do that by saying inside the wave loader, that is the parent element, we say overflow, we give it hidden so that we don't actually see that. So we are very close. I think the only thing we are missing is the color and some shadows. So I'm going to apply the background color now, which is going to be exactly this color without the alpha or the opacity part. So I'm going to say hush this color. Let's go back and see. It's looking awesome. And then I'm also going to change the color of this one to complete white so that we see the difference between the before and after. White. Perfect. So now we see that there are two elements here, the before and after. So the only thing I am missing is the box shadow I applied inside and also outside here. You can see it's a little outside and also the inside. So I'll go back and then I'll say box shadow. Box shadow I'll just copy and paste it here. That's because it's a bit longer, but I'll explain to you. This is the first part for the outside. This is the second part for the inside using this insert. Alright. So when I save it, you see that I have that effect, the box shadow outside and then the inside. So this is basically it. This is how to create a wave effect in CSS and HTML. We have only one element here and we are using the pseudo elements before and after to create the additional elements you see in here. And basically we are just applying this rotation, that is the wave effect. Yeah, basically that's it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again in another video.